You are listening to Arts on the Air, a bi-weekly-ish interview show dedicated to Savannah, Georgia's artists, musicians, and authors. Each episode will feature a guest in conversation about their philosophy, practice, and current projects, as well as their thoughts on the state of the arts in our community of Savannah. Our theme music is a clip of Summer Nights by the Eric Jones Trio. It's provided by our friend Mark Chesanow, who plays with the Eric Jones Trio. Hey everyone, welcome to Arts on the Air. This is Tamara Garvey, and I'm sitting with local artist Kasey Jeffrey. Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm so pleased to be talking to you face to face. I've seen your work all over town, in person and on Instagram, so thanks for coming. I'm going to read a little bio from your site. Kasey is currently working primarily with collage and paint, and she believes there is magic in mixing mediums. She brings a handmade feel into her graphic design work, often incorporating hand-done elements. I just wanted to start with how you arrived in Savannah. It looked like you were in Pennsylvania before this, is that right?
Yeah, so I grew up in like central Pennsylvania near Hershey Park area.
Yeah. A lot of tourists.
Yeah, lots of tourists. It's interesting actually, like living here in Savannah and meeting a lot of people who traveled there. Definitely a destination spot, which I hadn't really spent that much time thinking about living there growing up. Yeah, so I went to grade school in Pennsylvania and then college at Kutztown University. And in 2022, kind of was just ready for a change of scenery, wanted to be somewhere a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
So my partner at the time, my current partner, he is from Darien, Georgia.
Oh. And
I was just wanting to kind of try out a new place, and he thought I would like the art scene here. So I moved here having never been here before. And
wow. Yeah. Great. Was he here or was he in Pennsylvania?
He was in Pennsylvania with me. Like we both were at this time. He had just spent a lot of time here as a kid.
Yeah. And he was happy to move back closer to his home?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And he was right. I really love it. I think this is like the perfect spot
just
to
a
be
good
in.
size. I love that.
Yeah.
So in college you studied communication design, is that right?
Yeah. So it's basically graphic design.
Okay.
But Kutztown calls it communication design. It kind of encompasses like graphic design, advertising, web design, and illustration.
Yeah.
And you could pick like an area to concentrate in.
Yeah, that seems like a really good umbrella kind of major, that it would cover a lot of bases as you go forward in your life.
Definitely. Yeah. It was really honestly kind of tricky to pick because just being in that environment where you're learning all the time and everything's so exciting, and it was difficult for me to pick the area that I wanted to concentrate in because it felt like all of them have so much potential and have a draw. Yeah.
Was it graphics that you ended up picking?
Yes, I kind of dabbled in all of them, but I actually focused mostly on the graphic design and web design.
Okay.
But I took a lot of the illustration courses because I found that to be really exciting and fun, being able to weave that in to the other areas.
Yeah, I like that. So in your work, it looks like cut paper that's created into graphics. Is that where it starts through that? Yeah,
so I definitely am drawn to handmade, like more fine art. So I try to weave that in if I'm ever working digitally, like bringing in textures and just that like kind of tactile feel to it. But I do a lot of actual like physical collage too. And sometimes scanning stuff in, like I'll start with like raw materials, scan that in, and layer that in digitally if what I'm doing is like a digital graphic or something for social media.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think it really sets you apart from people who the entire piece is created digitally, that a lot of people will just recognize, oh, this is clearly like a bit of construction paper or some actual fabric that has been scanned in. It just is a really different twist to it. And I'm sure for you, like you said, you liked the other aspects of it when you were in college, so it's nice for you get to keep bringing that into your work.
Totally, yeah. And you can do a lot digitally that makes it look handmade, but there's something satisfying about starting with the handmade materials and like just knowing that actually was from life and you're kind of combining it that way.
Right, as opposed to like on a tablet using a paintbrush or like a filter or something to recreate a handmade thing.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
When you went off to college, had you been doing art for a long time before that?
Yeah, so definitely, and I feel like this is common for people that end up working in a creative field. I definitely was one of those kids who from the start like had always said, when I grow up I'm gonna be an artist. Like I just knew that. So definitely in childhood always drawing and painting, and that was kind of my main hobby. I had a lot of different hobbies that I dabbled in, and that was one that I never left. I kind of like kept
it was your common thread.
Yeah, totally the common thread. I took art lessons from like a local artist, Mrs. Jansen. She taught me when probably like 10 years old. I would go over to her house and we would just work on different mediums like oil and charcoal.
Wow, that's cool. As a little kid, usually you're not doing that like sophisticated of materials.
Yeah, she definitely made me feel like a real art. Like I remember feeling like a real artist whenever I would go there. And she was really talented, and she would give me little grades, which was really fun.
Yeah, you were taken really seriously.
Yeah, it felt like she like saw me and like recognized that I had some kind of interest in it and like skills in it that she wanted to see continue to grow, which was really neat. So always doing little like art contests, drawing contests, stuff like that.
And then when you graduated from college, how long were you still in Pennsylvania for?
So I graduated from college and stayed in Pennsylvania it was like 4 years.
Okay.
And I was working in-house as the graphic designer at Martin Guitar, and their main factory is in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Oh. So I was in that area doing a lot of design-based stuff, really all around guitars. So lots of like the labels that go inside the sound holes, lots of like art for the outside of the guitar bodies and like the necks and like fretboards and stuff. It was a really cool job. I got to like learn a lot, meet a lot of like cool people and work on some cool stuff. So that was a really awesome experience. And that in-house setting was good to learn because I was able to just like focus on one thing and get really good at it and kind of learn the ins and outs of all the different kinds of design, because there was lots of print and digital, web. So it was just kind of like good experience across the board. And then ultimately I ended up leaving that position because I wanted to get agency experience, like more variety, not just guitar projects.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's sort of, like you said, it's across the board different like applications for the art, but it's sort of all based on this one like motif or object or something, which is an interesting balance. Yeah,
so as I was kind of building my portfolio post-grad, it was kind of becoming a lot of guitar music-based pieces, which I was interested in, but I wanted to kind of branch out.
Yeah. And you didn't want to feel pigeonholed.
Right.
I saw, on your website, it's cool where you have your, the work section of your website, and you have it divided up really nicely into categories. And as I scrolled through, I was like, oh, this is a lot of different things related to guitars. And like you said, what is it, the label that goes inside the hole of the guitar?
Yeah.
It's so specific. It's so funny.
Yeah, we call it like the sound hole label. So it's like when you're looking at the guitar through the strings, it's like the little sticker inside.
Yeah. It looks like a little certificate of authenticity, kind of.
Right. And a lot of times it really just kind of would say the brand name, the model name, and if it was like a limited release, what number out of the collection that it would have been. Sometimes though they could be a bit more creative, and that was really fun when they were like illustrative and they would let me do a little like picture.
For like a special edition.
Right, yeah, for like a custom edition.
Yeah. What's the kind of thing you said there was art on the fretboard of the guitar? What would that be like?
Sometimes so there, like Martin Guitar has a whole department that does like custom inlays where they take like pearl and other kinds of materials and they like inlay it almost like engraved style onto the fretboard, and I would get to like sometimes design those in Photoshop, and similarly to what we were talking about before, I would do them like by hand a lot and then scan them in and like finalize them on the computer, which it kind of lent itself to that because the people that would do the inlays are also doing it by hand. So starting it by hand kind of just like made sense.
Yeah, because then I guess it's like you know that it's possible to do that shape by hand.
Right.
Because you've drawn it or cut it out or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely had a few where the inlay guys were like, this is so much detail. Like, like we have to cut all these out.
That's so funny. It's almost like a tattoo, how like you just literally can't make a tattoo that's as detailed as like a drawing.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't even imagine. Like,
yeah.
And I've seen some really detailed tattoos, so like, yeah.
Was there sort of like a warehouse or like a place where the people, could you go and watch them like actually creating this and doing it?
Yeah, and that is, it blows my mind, like, just honestly how many kinds of art forms there are and how intricate they all can be. And it was really cool to see them working on that, like just how small the pieces are.
Yeah. This is so interesting. I love that what a cool experience that you had, and who knew that there was so many different types of art, like that, a guitar company had this in-house like graphic design team doing these things. It's amazing.
Yeah, honestly, the whole like instrument building is an art for sure.
Yeah,
it's way over my head. But
and it looks like on your site you did the graphics of like they had an exhibit. It looked like you did some sort of museum design kind of.
Yeah, they have a museum that kind of just walks you through like the history of the company and the instruments and how they kind of brought the dreadnought guitar body style to America. And I got to do like the graphics for the museum, like the photos and text that you kind of read as you walk through.
That's incredible. That's what a high profile thing to do.
Yeah, it was really fun, and they've got a lot of really awesome guitars from some great musicians in there.
Wow. Where is that museum?
That's also in Nazareth.
Okay.
Like at the factory.
Is that close to Hershey?
It is. It's like an hour and a half.
So like if we're gonna go travel to Pennsylvania and hit all these unusual museums and things.
Yeah,
do it.
You definitely could do like the Nazareth, Hershey. You could do that. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 days. Yeah.
And then you said you left that and you wanted to get agency experience.
Right. So I took a role with a marketing agency, and my role was remote. So I could live anywhere within the U.S., which is kind of what opened that door to be able to leave the cold, try out a new state. So that's when I came to Georgia, when I started that position.
And when you arrived in Savannah, where did you go? How was it finding and settling in, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, so when we first got here, we were living in Pooler, just a little bit outside of Savannah, and Pooler's awesome because it has like everything that you could think of, like every restaurant and store ever. So yeah, I mean, basically settled in pretty quickly. And I think after spending a lot of like weekends exploring downtown Savannah, we ultimately decided we wanted to get a little bit closer to downtown.
Yeah. You knew like how many young artists there were around.
Right. Yeah. Just lots of stuff to do downtown.
Yeah.
Lots of people always hanging out, and lots of cool art activities.
And you would have been, I guess, working from home, kind of either like maybe starting things by hand, but then working on the computer a lot.
Right. So I was doing a lot of digital stuff with this role.
Yeah.
Especially because it was remote. Still trying to weave in hand-done stuff when I could. Definitely with sketches and stuff starting out.
Do you like going to like art openings and things in town? Because I know by now you do a lot of like your own kind of fine art and selling it, or really integrated amongst the downtown. So I didn't know how that even happened for you.
Definitely when we first moved here, just going to all those events. I think I was really drawn, like you said, downtown to like the markets. Like I went to like every market as a shopper, and it was just like, wow, look at all the people here making stuff, and there seems to be such like a celebration around it, and that was so exciting to me. So it was a lot of traveling around, going to all the markets, going to the little shops, and really just kind of exploring that part of the community.
Yeah, and just seeing how you could start slowly like making your own sort of products and easing them out and selling them in small ways, even at like a small show or something. Yeah, just the feeling of all the possibilities. Like I was like, oh, like people are doing this and making stuff and selling it, and all these people are showing up. I could do this. Yeah. Did you see gradually on your site you have like prints and cards, and then you also have little like earrings that look, is it from clay? Yeah. Okay. So I dabble in the polymer clay. Yeah. I also really like ceramics. I don't have like a formal education in terms of the wheel throwing, but I took
ceramics courses in school just as electives, and I always thought that was really fun, like the hand building. And then I discovered polymer clay, which is more accessible, I guess, because it's oven bake. So I kind of just like the sculptural.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
So you can have a very small space because it's not super messy.
Right.
You just form it and then you just like put it on a cookie sheet and bake it.
Yeah. And you can just bake it in the oven. It's definitely, I use a cookie sheet. And like wax paper. So.
Are your earrings? Did you make those? They're of your style though.
These are polymer clay, and these are a local artist, Midnight Sun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah. Shout out Midnight Sun.
How do you make them flat?
Yeah, that is something that I realized is much easier if you have, they make these little like clay pasta machines that it's very much like making pasta, I would assume, which I have not done, but you flatten it. Like, so you roll it through this little thing.
Wow.
A little metal machine.
So cute.
Yeah, it's like I'm a little baker.
I love just the idea that like everything is sort of shrunken down, where you just have this tiny little machine and then you just put it, it's almost like this Holly Hobby type of thing. You just stick it in the oven and there you go.
Yeah, like easy bake oven. Yeah,
because ceramics, it always seems, the traditional ceramics where it's so cool, but you just like need a lot of space. It's so messy and you need these like huge amounts of clay, and then you need like the whole invention of polymer clay just seems like a really nice, easy way for people to like branch out into it.
Definitely. From home. And without the kiln aspect of it, because I feel like that can be tricky. Yeah.
How did you get into, were you working this job from home and then on the side you started being like, oh, the illustrations that you were creating, you started making them into prints and cards as well?
So all through school and my jobs, like post-grad, I was doing freelance on the side, and that kind of lent itself to me ultimately going freelance. But I was working on little freelance graphic design projects here and there while I was doing this remote job full-time, and like we talked about, exploring the arts community here, and ultimately just realizing I could transition to freelance. And that's basically just what I did then. I did a year at this agency role, getting some more experience of the variety of clients and projects, and kind of just pocketing some skills that I could ultimately like use to run my own little graphic business.
What year was it that you started becoming totally freelance?
2023. So it's been a little over a year.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So a year.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like the scrappy startup vibe is really energizing.
Yeah, was the entry, was it like a big learning curve at the beginning of like getting enough work and juggling it and everything?
Definitely. So it kind of became a juggling of the freelance graphics, which I am doing for like small businesses or individuals, and then making art that I want to make and selling it at markets and local shops, and then also doing hosting little monthly workshops.
Yeah, it's balancing a lot of different aspects.
Right, yeah.
You have a couple of books that you've illustrated that are on your site. One is a children's book called Magic Beet.
Yeah.
And then like a more adult book that's Edgar Allan Poe poems.
Yeah.
What did both of these come about, like just through your freelance?
So the Edgar Allan Poe anthology was really like a passion project of just work. I wanted to explore collage digitally, and like the tactile collage, mixing that. So really it was just an exploration of that, like a style exploration. And the Magic Beet, I also started that in school when I was in college getting my undergrad degree, and then that became an actual book post-grad.
How is it the person who was writing it found you somehow? And
so I want to say it was like my junior or senior year of college, and I was just reaching out to local businesses for internship experience, asking around if anyone needed any help. And this one company that I had been in contact with, they didn't have any projects at the time, but then they ended up reaching back out, and they said they had this book that they were working on and they were looking for an illustrator. So it really just started by happenstance.
That's great. That's a huge project.
Yeah, it was really exciting getting to work on it while doing school, helped me learn a lot about like balancing multiple things at once.
Yeah, that sounds very intense.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Just that they took I feel like they took a chance on a student, someone who was still learning.
Literally still in school.
Yeah. It was really fun. So that was a design agency in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And the author was also from Pennsylvania.
How much contact do you have with the author? Is it directly with them, or is it like through the publishing house?
It kind of was like a 3-way partnership. This design agency called Level 11, they were working with the author, and then I was kind of the third party that they used for the illustrations.
Yeah.
But we all spoke like directly with one another in terms of edits and any like idea sharing.
Yeah.
We would all just like hop on a call.
How was it? Was it pretty easy? Like the editing, was there a lot of back and forth, or did you feel like did you ever feel that it was difficult to get on agreement about things, or was it pretty smooth?
It was pretty smooth. When they came to me with the project, they had a pretty clear idea of what they wanted for each page. So that helped. Definitely, we did multiple rounds of edits. It wasn't anything crazy. Like, it was never like fully start over, but we definitely like tried a lot of different things for certain pages.
That's great.
Yeah.
I guess also when you, at the beginning of it, when you're signing a contract, it was nice. You were in school, so you could like, you had a professor who could help you through all that.
Right.
That's important.
I definitely was like asking all of my illustration professors.
Yeah.
It seems like it's something that is hard to advise on, because it is different each time depending on like what the arrangement is.
Right.
How many people are involved.
Yeah, it's based on, I guess, just like how big the publishing house or the design company is, how big the run of the book is going to be, like all these factors as far as how much money you can even expect or ask for.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, overall it was really about the experience and getting to work on this large scale project, because I hadn't done anything like that.
And the book is still out there? We could order it?
Yeah, you can order it on Amazon, through Barnes and Noble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Magic Beet?
Magic Beet, yeah, the Magic Beet.
All right. And then the Edgar Allan Poe book, is that out there that we can get too?
So that you cannot purchase. I do sell the prints from that.
Oh,
but
wow.
Yeah, not, it's not like a book that you can buy. It was
Okay.
really more just a project. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, when did you start like selling your products to, did you start at shops first or markets, or how did you do that?
I joined a co-op studio space, actually kind of to your question earlier about when I first moved here and discovering the art scene. I signed up for a workshop that was being offered. I think it was like a holiday craft night, and it was at Dreamhouse Studios in the Starland district. They host a lot of like monthly workshops there, little events, and I had done a class there and was really inspired by that. Like, I was like, here's these local women like teaching arts classes and making a living off of creating things. Like, what a dream. And I saw then a few months later that they actually were renting out some spaces that they had.
And this is in Starland Strange?
It's above Starland Strange. Okay. So it's downstairs is Starland Strange, an ice cream shop and boutique, and then above that is a shared studio space called Dreamhouse.
It's like beautiful Victorian house.
Yeah, it's pink and magical and so adorable. Yeah. So the timing was, there was just a lot of synchronicity in the timeline there, because I was kind of at this point where I was ready to try out freelancing, and there was this studio space available. So I applied for that and started renting out that space and selling stuff, selling my products downstairs in Starland Strange.
Oh.
Yeah, and in tandem with that, starting to sell at markets.
Yeah. And
little like events.
And how many of you share spaces up there in that studio?
So I think it's 7 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's big. Is it like individual room? Because it's like a house. Is it individual rooms?
Yeah, so there's individual rooms and a couple, like 2 people to a room.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd been in there maybe when it was first starting, where I think is it Allison Hall who was in the shop, but at the back of it they had a room where she would be in there working. It was like,
yes,
I think she was the only one, maybe.
I don't remember who would have been where to start, but I know that like since they've opened it, they've definitely moved things around and then kind of took over like the top floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was the whole top floor, that there were so many of you in there working. That's very cool.
Yeah, they definitely like expanded since they first opened up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that shop is so interesting. So I love that you have this exchange where you're like up there making it, and then you can just like send it downstairs and then they can sell it. That's cute.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's a fun environment to be in.
How do you manage your day or your week? Do you work from home some, or do you go to that studio a lot? What are you doing?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix, which is something that I am enjoying about being freelance, is kind of getting to make your schedule, and the routine is very important and something that I'm still like nailing down, but it really depends because of the nature of the different things that I do. Sometimes I'll be working mostly digitally, which I can be doing from home or from a coffee shop or the studio. But if it's going to be a day where it's more handmade stuff, you know, more painting or collaging with physical materials, my setup at the studio is helpful for that, because I have like the table space and all my supplies there.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So it's very day by day, just what point you are in a particular project, even.
Definitely.
Whether you're making or doing the computer design.
Yeah, the flexibility is awesome.
Yeah. Is it a few people that like run that as a business, and then are you part of that, or are you renting space?
So I am renting a space from them, and there's 4 founders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you started teaching classes too, right?
Right. So when I started renting this space, part of the rental lease agreement is that you can teach workshops from the communal area in the studio.
How did that go with starting that? Were you nervous at the beginning?
Definitely very nervous at the beginning. It's interesting because art education is something that I've always been drawn to. When I was graduating high school and picking what I wanted to major in, that was something that was definitely on the table. And I ended up going the graphic design route because it felt maybe more lucrative, or that's the route that the world was going in, was like digital. But I've always been interested in art education. I think probably just my high school art classes inspired that. I really loved it. It was my favorite class. So I was thinking of that, and it's interesting now that I find myself sort of in that space of teaching the classes. Definitely the nerves were worse in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite workshops that you've taught?
I really enjoy where it's a more self-guided course. So kind of demonstrating in the beginning and then letting the people in the class take it however they choose to.
Yeah.
I would say the collage style workshops are very much that way, kind of like a self-exploration. Also watercolor, like that seems to be something where people can really have fun with it if it's not too structured.
How do you, so give us a little pitch if we're going to sign up for a workshop. Is it a particular painting that people are working toward doing, or they do whatever they want subject-wise?
Yeah, so oftentimes there is a theme that seems to just help. If there's like an umbrella theme, and then you can do with that wherever your inspiration takes you. But I've done specific like mushroom collage classes, specific watercolor themed ones, like we've done like Angry Cat watercolor. Just it seems to be the very specific themes are helpful because it helps jog the brain for ideas.
Yeah,
I think.
Anything cat related, I'm sure, is gonna relate. And then mushrooms are like cottage core, and like forestry in general is so popular right now.
Yeah, and I think these workshops too, where it can be a little bit more abstract if it feels approachable, and that it doesn't have to be like a masterpiece. It's really about coming in and meeting people and just making good conversations. And that's really like the first class that I went to here in Savannah. It was really about that for me, like meeting people, and that's the kind of environment I strive for, is just like a relaxing, fun place that you can come and try something new.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
How many people do you usually get?
I would say a good turnout is like 10
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's definitely, it depends, I think, on the time of year and, you know, if there's other events going on. But
coming up to the holidays, it seems nice. Like this would have like a cute gift idea for people to give each other, where you can get like 2 tickets to a workshop and then they can go do it together. Seems really fun.
Definitely. I've had a few workshops where it was an accidental birthday party. Like one time there was 2 different people and it was their birthday and I was like, this is so fun.
That's so cute.
Celebrating.
And then they can go downstairs and get ice cream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How do you make your prints and cards? Do you do that yourself or you get them done elsewhere?
Yeah, so I use Creative Approach.
Okay.
They have walk-in printing. They also do like larger runs. If you're wanting to print like a ton of greeting cards, you can do like a big run. And the walk-in is so nice because you can just go in, they help you set up the file, and it's been really helpful.
That's great. Did you start doing some craft shows too? I know you said at the beginning you were really liking going around and meeting people that way.
Yeah, I do. I've got the tent, the setup.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's like ever evolving as well. I feel like I look back at like the first markets that I did and I really just went for it, not sure how to really set up, but just kind of made it happen. I looked back at some photos of like my first setups and I didn't even have the tablecloth and stuff like that. Like
I think it can be really hilarious. Like when you look back at the beginning where you're like, wow, that was abysmal, and you just were trying it anyway.
Yeah,
you know? Like just the amount of gradual steps that you take up to get more and more professional is really mind-blowing.
So true. Yeah. Like I look back and it would just be a Venmo code on printer paper, like taped to table with no tablecloth.
No tablecloth. Yeah, that's a certain level.
Yeah.
My first shows, when I look back, I didn't realize like a big thing with presentation is to like try to have things be vertical so people can really see it from like far away. And I just had like prints laying down on my table, like just flat, just like a print, just like a checkerboard of prints just laying down on a table, so you'd have to be like right up on the table to see anything. So that was the level I was doing at the very beginning.
Yes, I've been there.
And I think I was outside and it was windy and I had to, as the day went on, I had to like learn to tape them all down. Horrendous.
Totally.
What do you have coming up like in your near future? Are you juggling? Is it a certain amount of freelance or classes, or are you always is it always changing?
Yeah, I would say it's always changing. Really just depends on the week. Some weeks are heavier with graphic stuff. And then some weeks, if it's not as much graphic design projects that I'm working on, it's really about whatever collage I want to do or whatever painting I'm wanting to make that week. And then the classes, I try to do a couple a month.
Okay, that's pretty frequent.
Yeah, and that changes too. It's not always the same days. It fluctuates.
Okay, you're testing out to see what kind of days of the week work well.
Yeah, that is something that I've been trying to figure out, and that also seems to change like depending on the season.
Where do people sign up for that? Where do they find that?
So Dreamhouse has a website, dreamhousesavannah.com, and the workshops are like everyone at the studio has their workshops listed on there. And then I also have an event page like on my personal website where I list all of them.
I'll post with the show notes. I'll post like your Instagram and your website.
Awesome.
Yeah, of course. For your graphic design, how has that been for you getting clients? Do you kind of have the same ones that are like ongoing, or are you sort of constantly trying to like get new people on?
It's definitely a mix of both. I have clients that I'm on like a contract with who I work with regularly, and then some people locally that I've worked on website designs with or social graphics, and kind of just like cold calls, asking people.
I was gonna ask you how you market, how you do that.
Yeah, definitely like just reaching out, and the cold calls, which can be kind of scary putting yourself out there, but it's worth it just from a networking standpoint. And also just by word of mouth, like being at the studio, I've gotten a lot of projects that way just by recommendation. And joining like local clubs and meetups and stuff, meeting people that way.
Okay. Are you is web design kind of the main area that like you're finding people booking you for?
Yes, right now actually I would say web design is probably one of my biggest graphic design components.
Yeah. Do you find when you're doing people's web design, are you still able to incorporate doing the hand cutting and hand making things as a beginning aspect to it, or do people not necessarily want it to look like that?
It depends. I would say I gravitate towards clients who are open to that organic, more handmade feel, but not always is that applicable. So when it's doesn't apply to their brand feel, then not as much. But a lot of the website builders now lend themselves to just the drag and drop, kind of has like a collage feel almost. You can like layer things and
like on Squarespace or Wix or whatever. That's
right there. It's just easier to do that, like to bring in layers and textures and stuff. Somewhere along the line, I got some advice in terms of portfolio building to make sure that what's in your portfolio is projects that you want to be working on the most. So I try to showcase the kind of style that I would want to be working on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like the beginning where you just have to put up everything you've ever done just to volume-wise have stuff. But then, as you get further into your career, that you only want to give examples of things you want to do. Because otherwise people will look at it and be like, oh, this is the thing. And you're like, that was just a random thing I did in school. I never thought I would revisit that again.
Definitely. And that's what I started to feel when my portfolio was very guitar heavy.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, what if people think I only...
That's all you're capable
design
of,
guitar stuff. Yeah.
That would be quite a cottage industry if you just strictly just guitar companies across the U.S. were just looking you for like designing picks or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. What do you, like subject matter wise, when you do your own fine art and your prints, is there any kind of like look that you're going for or things you're interested in?
I would say in terms of look and feel, I'm very drawn to lots of texture and lots of different kinds of mediums combined. Like I really like the look of like pastel, watercolor, colored pencil, like mixed. I think that the like combination of different textures is what makes a piece exciting to me. Mm-hmm. So I try to bring in those elements from different mediums. And in terms of inspiration, I feel like mostly things from life. Like I've been doing a lot of food based collage illustrations, lots of like nature scenes, like plants and flowers, just things from life. And I think food and plants are fun to collage because you can't really get them wrong. Like they all look unique in their own way.
Right, they're organic shapes.
Right. Yeah. Something about the organic shape is
I feel enticing. Like when I look through your site, just the combination of, like you said, that it's a lot of food and it's a lot of plants, it feels very, like it would all be really cute animation for kids, or that it seems very like very childlike, that it's like a cute ice cream cone and things are very pastel colored and they're very sweet.
Yeah, one of the last markets I did, someone was looking at my stuff and they were like, this just makes me feel so happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I love that. Like that makes me happy. Yeah. That you're happy.
Yeah, you definitely, I feel like you really have a look to yours. There's not a lot of dark, heavy colors or like big expanses of dark colors. It feels very cheerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is coming up next for you? Is there anything that you're looking to delve into to change it all, or new directions you want to go into?
I've been trying to work bigger. I feel that when I work on a tiny piece, I am less intimidated, which is helpful in a lot of ways because I'm able to get through a piece like start to finish. If it's small, it just feels more approachable, I think. But I'm trying to push myself to do bigger pieces, really just forcing myself to add more details. And I think having a bigger piece where you have to step back and get a sense for what it looks like from far away and up close. It's just a part of my brain that I am not always like accessing, I feel.
Yeah, something is small enough, I guess. You almost never have to step back. You're just sitting at a desk and you're fine. You can take the whole thing in.
Right.
Yeah. So you're working on canvases? Is that?
Right now, a lot of paper-based. Okay. Like, a lot of the collages I'm doing right now, I am not even really measuring them out, like, just growing them on the desk. I don't know how to explain
it. Just bigger paper.
Right. Yeah, like continuing to like paste them together until it's like the size that feels right for the base. But I don't usually use canvas for collage. Mostly mixed media paper.
Yeah. How do you think you're gonna finish them off? Like in the end, like say you have a paper and it's expanding out and then eventually you have to like adhere that on something and frame it? What are you thinking?
So I've been, in terms of frames, I've been exploring floating frames, which has been working pretty well if it's not, like if all the paper in the collage can lay flat. But I do have a few pieces right now that I haven't framed where some of the elements are not fully flat. They're like bent or extending off the page. And I have seen some photos of not floating frames, but the same kind of frame that you would use for a canvas.
Okay.
And I'm feeling like that might be an avenue.
Just a deeper frame.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about this because I am sort of starting to work on things too of collaging and thinking about, also making things that aren't laying flat, but like a little loop of something, or almost like sewing some fabric on where it'll drape and where it's going to be a little bit 3D. So I'm trying to imagine how to finish it and whether it's behind glass and how it works as well.
Sometimes the glass works if the piece is mostly flat, if that makes sense. But if you don't want it to be completely flush against the glass, that's where I'm trying to imagine like these other frames.
I guess there are like very deep frames, and then you can do like a spacer inside of it where the art is at the back of the frame and the glass is at the front of it, and there's a spacer within it to hold the glass away from the piece.
Right, almost like a shadow box thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that deep.
Something like that I think would work.
I know, it's unfortunate though, because then when I think about it, then I'm like, oh, when people move around it and like go back and forth to look at it, like will they, because since it'll be behind glass, will there just be a glare? Will they even be able to see super well, like that it is 3D? I don't know. It's frustrating. And I like working with paper as well, but it just feels like to keep it protected, it's like paper has to be behind glass or else you just never know what'll happen.
Exactly. And I think that is something I've been thinking about, is the presentation aspect. Because at some of my markets, people have asked me, when I'm having the collages in the floating frames, they asked me how I painted on the glass. And so I had to explain like, oh, well, it's actually cut paper that's glued behind the glass.
Yeah.
But I feel like, if that's getting lost in translation sometimes, like the frame is really important, and that's something I'm still
that's interesting. There's something about it that people aren't reading, but who knows, it could be you're just like in some market and it's on a table, and maybe if it was like on a wall at a gallery, that like maybe then people can see it and it will read better. It's it's a lot to think about.
The displaying for sure.
And then as you mentioned, like painting on glass, I have been looking at different people's work lately who like they have a piece that's collaged or whatever at the back of the frame, and then there actually is paint on the inside of the pane of glass, so that there's like literal depths of it to look through.
Cool.
So I've been thinking about maybe experimenting with like doing that as well. Like if it's gonna look like that anyway, then maybe you do just paint on the inside of the pane of glass.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Bringing in like that other element of depth then.
Yeah. And then as people walk around and move from side to side, you will see, maybe you can look like around it almost once you get next to it. You can like look behind at what was behind that painted glass part.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's something too, like even with the floating frames where it's just two panes of glass and then like the art is sandwiched in between. I'm enjoying the way that when they are displayed, the shadows that they cast. So if it's just like a flower in the floating glass, it makes the shadow of a flower. Right.
Yeah, especially I guess if you can hang it somehow where it's like not hanging on the wall, but it's
just sitting,
hanging forward from the wall some. Yeah. Like if it's hanging from the ceiling and it's a little bit off the wall, and then people can like walk around and see the shadow too.
Yeah, definitely.
That could be very cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot to think about. Do you have any markets coming up where people can come see you?
I don't have any scheduled right now, but there's definitely ones coming up that I'm hoping to
keep an eye on your Instagram.
Yeah, definitely.
Was last year was the first year that you started like doing this freelance all the time. Was that when you first started doing markets too, or has it been longer than that?
Yes. So the first market that I ever did was when I moved to Savannah.
Okay. So it's been a few years. Are there any in town that you like really recommend to people who are getting into this as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot. I enjoyed the Slam Festival, the Savannah local art market.
That has a nice informal feel to it.
Yeah, definitely. And there's like live music. There's lots of like First Friday events that I've had fun at.
I really like when Sulphur Studios, I think they do it every other First Friday. So it's like every 2 months they'll do a Friday night market. Okay. And I think I have like a very fair entry fee, and maybe they still do this, but in the past they do it where like you can also just pay a little bit more and like they'll put up a tent for you. Okay. Which is incredible, because putting up a tent is such a pain. So I always like to recommend.
Yeah, it's such a pain.
Sulphur Studio Fair.
That is good to know. I found out that my tent could roll. Yeah, like the carrying case of it rolls after like doing 3 markets of
wow.
just strong arming it, and then I'm just like,
hefting it around.
Yeah, this like wheels, cool. Yeah, so I would say slam, lots of First Friday events. I know there's like an Instagram account now where someone is kind of collecting all of the local markets. I think it's called Savannah Artists Wanted, and so that's something I check out.
Yes, that rings a bell.
Because it just kind of keeps all of the events in one place. Yeah.
All right, that's great. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to leave us with that we should? I guess so. We'll keep an eye out for future work for you that sounds conceptual wise of the largeness, and we'll look at you build it like. For me too. I feel like I'm putting this out here and then I have to actually do it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
So in November, I'm going to be popping up at Lightfoot in Starland.
What is that?
They are like a sustainability shop. They sell different home products.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is this in that sort of like shopping center that's across from where back in the day bakery was?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll be popped up there. My products, for the month of November, so I'm excited about that.
Do you have to be there selling it, or you'll just like have your work in there?
Yeah, I'll have my work just set up there.
So for the whole month, people can go there and shop your work.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I'll have probably my holiday, like Christmas themed stuff out, but then also just general prints and products. Yeah,
that's great to know.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And I have prints at Starland Strange as well.
Okay, and then we'll keep an eye on your Instagram for future craft shows, and people can look at the Dreamhouse website and look for future workshops. It sounds really fun.
Yeah, classes and events will be on Dreamhouse's website and my website, as well as any markets that I'll be selling at. I have those listed too. Yeah.
Do you take suggestions from people about workshops? Is that a thing?
Yeah, definitely. I've actually been wanting to add that specifically to my website, like definitely open to suggestions for specific classes. I've also done private workshops for team building activities for companies.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, or like bachelorette parties. So if you're ever looking for a private event or wanting to do some kind of like arts and crafts class for a party, that's totally something that we offer at Dreamhouse.
I love that. That's totally what I was thinking about, like a group of people who have a specific thing they want to do that they can pitch to you and you can work that in as a...
Yeah, definitely. Or even just private instruction. Like I've had people reach out and ask about collage classes. So yeah, I'm always open to that.
That's very cool.
Yes, we could do private event at any time.
I love that.
Yeah, weekends. Yeah. And then anytime during the week, like after 5 p.m.
Well, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure to talk to you about your whole variety of things going on.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
I'm excited for you. It sounds like you have integrated really well into Savannah, and I love that you're amongst the 6 other artists that you're sharing at Dreamhouse. It sounds like a really cute community up there. Yeah,
definitely. I would say the community aspect of Savannah's art has just really been welcoming, and it feels like I've been here way longer than I have, just because of the people that I've met.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, and you're available for website design and other graphic design as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, thank you. This has been local artist Kasey Jeffrey, and I'm Tamara Garvey, and this has been Art on the Air. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much.